I never should have gone into those woods. It started with a phone call from my cousin Mark. He had recently moved out to a small cabin in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, miles from the nearest town, buried in a forest so dense it felt like stepping into another world. Mark had always been a bit of a loner, but something in his voice that night sent chills down my spine. "There's something out here," he whispered, "something that watches me from the trees." I thought he was messing with me. Mark always loved ghost stories, but then he said something that didn't sound like a joke. "It's tall, bones sticking out like antlers, eyes like burning coals. It's not human." He begged me to visit, said he couldn't take another night alone, so I went. The drive was long and isolated. By the time I arrived, the sun was setting behind black silhouettes of trees that seemed to stretch forever. Mark's cabin looked like it had been swallowed by the forest. Quiet, still, too still. No one came to greet me. I knocked. No answer. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the cabin was a mess, papers scattered, dishes broken, claw marks on the walls. My stomach twisted. Then I found his journal. The entry started off normal notes about fixing the roof, hiking trails, but gradually his writing became frantic. "It follows me at night. I hear it breathing outside my window. It mimics voices now, my own voice, calling me from the woods." The last entry was smeared in what looked like blood. "If I disappear, don't follow me." That night I tried to sleep, but the wind howled like a living thing. Branches tapped the windows, slow and deliberate. I kept hearing something, footsteps. No heavier, more deliberate. I told myself it was an animal, a deer, a coyote. But then a voice. Outside the window, my voice. "Let me in," I froze. Whatever was out there, it wasn't Mark, and it definitely wasn't me. The forest had gone silent, and I wasn't alone. The next morning I should have left, but I didn't. Something about that voice, my voice, had burrowed into my mind. I kept thinking, what if Mark was still out there? What if he needed help? So I stayed. I told myself I'd look for him, just for a day. I found a trail behind the cabin, barely visible, half covered in pine needles and frost. Mark had written about it in his journal. He called it the Deer Path, though he said he never saw deer on it. Just prints he couldn't identify. The deeper I walked into the forest, the quieter it became. No birds, no wind. Even the sound of my own footsteps seemed swallowed by the trees. The air grew colder, heavy, like the forest itself was holding its breath. After an hour, I came across something strange, branches tied together into a crude symbol hanging from a tree, almost like a warning. Beneath it, the snow was stained red. And then I saw the antlers. They weren't on a deer. They were arranged in a tall, narrow structure, rising from the forest floor like some kind of altar. Bones hung from it like wind chimes. Human bones. I should have turned back. Instead, I heard it. Not behind me, not in front of me, inside me. "Help me," it was Mark's voice. I spun around. No one. Then again, louder, closer. "Please, I'm cold." It was coming from everywhere and nowhere. I started to run, blindly crashing through the underbrush. Branches tore at my clothes. I didn't care. I just wanted out. But the forest didn't want me to leave. I ran in circles, past the same broken tree twice, then 3 times. Something was watching me. I could feel it like hot breath on the back of my neck. Every time I turned, I caught glimpses of movement between the trees. A shape too tall, limbs too long, eyes glowing faintly in the gloom. By the time I made it back to the cabin, it was nearly dark. The door was open. Inside, the journal was gone. In its place, a new message scratched into the wall. "You heard me." I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner with a fire poker clutched in both hands, watching the windows, listening to the woods whisper my name in my own voice. Outside, something moved, and it was getting closer. The next day, the sky stayed gray, not cloudy, but wrong. Like a sheet of ash stretched across the sky, too low, too still. I didn't even pretend I was staying to help Mark anymore. I knew the truth. Whatever I heard out there, it wasn't him. It was something else. I tried to leave. packed up what I could, threw my bag over my shoulder, and started back down the path toward where the old forest road should have been. It wasn't there. I walked for hours. My compass spun in circles. Every direction felt the same. And always, just out of sight, something followed me. I never saw it directly, but I heard its breath, its footsteps, the cracking of frozen branches just a little too far away to be certain. At one point, I stopped to catch my breath, and I saw them. Footprints, bare feet, leading from the trees straight toward me. I turned, heart pounding, and there, standing no more than 10 feet away, was Mark. At least that's what I thought for a second, but something was wrong. He was too thin. His skin stretched tight over bones, his eyes black and sunken, his lips torn like they'd been gnawed from the inside. His breath came out in clouds, even though I couldn't feel any wind. "Help me," he whispered, but his mouth didn't move. It was my voice. That was when I ran again. I don't even remember how I made it back. I just know I ended up at the cabin, slammed the door shut, and didn't open it again. All night it stayed outside, scratching, whispering, circling. The next morning I woke to silence, but carved into the wood of the front door, written with something dark and dry, "I'm hungry." This wasn't a haunting, it was a hunt, and I was still here. I didn't sleep the next night. I couldn't. Every creak of the old cabin made my heart skip. The firewood was running low, and the shadows inside grew longer with each hour. I wrapped myself in every blanket I had, but the cold felt alive, like it was crawling under my skin. That's when I started hearing my own voice again, from outside, calling to me, begging to be let in. "I'm cold, please, it's me, I need help." But I didn't move. I knew better, that thing, the Wendigo. It wore voices like masks. It mimicked the desperate and the dead. Around 3 a.m., the door handle began to turn, slowly, deliberately. I hadn't locked it. The old bolt had snapped earlier that day. I grabbed the axe I'd kept by the fireplace, clutching it with trembling hands. My breath was mist. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. The door creaked open, and there it was, not Mark, not anyone human. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, bones jutting out from gray, leathery skin. Its eyes were pits of black hunger, glowing faintly like dying coals. Antlers twisted from its skull, gnarled like old roots. Its mouth, too wide, lined with jagged, uneven teeth. And it smiled. It didn't rush. It watched me like it enjoyed the fear. "You stayed too long," it rasped, voice like cracking ice. I swung the axe not out of courage, but pure terror. It shrieked, recoiling, but not before it slashed my shoulder with claws like rusted knives. I stumbled back, bleeding, dizzy, but alive. Fire, it feared the fire. I kicked over the lantern. Flames spread fast, catching on the dry walls and floorboards. Smoke filled the room. The Wendigo screamed, a sound that didn't belong in this world. It burst through the wall and vanished into the dark, trailing ash and fury. I ran. Through the burning trees, through smoke and ice and nightmare. I ran until I collapsed in the snow. By sunrise, I was found. A search party spotted the smoke. They said I was lucky to be alive. I didn't tell them what I saw. Who would believe me? Mark still listed as missing. The cabin burned to the ground. But sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I swear I hear my voice calling from the woods, begging to be let in.